There is a question most people carry quietly. They don't ask it in public. They don't always say it in prayer, but it is there, underneath the routines, underneath the ordinary weight of days that feel unanchored and unexplained. What is God doing in my life? Not in the abstract, not in theory, in this specific life, with this specific pain, with these specific years of waiting, of confusion, of seasons that ended without explanation and chapters that began without invitation. It is an honest question, and it deserves an honest answer. The answer is found in a story that almost didn't survive. A story from a girl who had no reason to believe her life had any design at all. Her name was Esther. She was born into the wrong place at the wrong time to the wrong people in the wrong empire. Her parents died when she was a child. She was raised by a cousin named Mordecai, a Jewish man living in Persia, part of a people carried into exile generations before she was born. She had no palace, no prophecy, no obvious destiny. She was simply a girl living in a city that was not her home, carrying a grief that was not her fault. If you had looked at her life at almost any point before the moment history remembers her for, you would have seen nothing remarkable. An ordinary woman in an extraordinary difficulty, a person shaped by loss, displacement, and silence. And you would have had no way of knowing that every one of those things was preparation. The king of Persia was a man named Ahasuerus. He ruled one of the largest empires in the ancient world. And he was not a gentle man. When his queen refused to appear at his command during a banquet, when she chose dignity over obedience, he removed her. A new queen would be chosen. Young women from across the empire were gathered, prepared, evaluated. Esther was among them. She did not choose to be there. She was selected, and she said nothing about who she was. Mordecai had told her to conceal her identity. She was Jewish, in a Persian court under a Persian king. Some things were safer held quietly. She was prepared for a year before she ever met the king. 1 year of waiting, 1 year of learning world that was not hers. When she finally stood before Ahasuerus, he chose her, not knowing who she was, not knowing what she carried, not knowing that the woman he was making queen would one day save an entire people from extinction. He simply found her, more than all the others, and chose her. Then came the man named Haman. He was powerful. He was proud. And he hated a people he could not control, the Jewish people, and a man named Mordecai who refused to bow to him. Haman went to the king with a plan so sweeping, so absolute, that it is difficult to comprehend. He did not want to punish one man. He wanted to destroy an entire people, every Jewish man, woman, and child living within the Persian Empire. The king agreed. The edict went out. The date was set. And in that moment, an entire people moved for used from safety to a death sentence with the signature of a ring pressed into wax. Mordecai put on sackcloth. He sat outside the palace gate and wept. He sent a message to Esther. You need to go to the king. You need to appeal to him. This is not a moment to stay silent. Esther knew the law. Anyone who approached the king without being summoned could be executed, even the queen. She sent a message back. I have not been called to the king in 30 days. If I go, I may die. Mordecai's response is one of the most remarkable things ever written to a person who felt small in the face of an impossible situation. He did not offer comfort. He offered clarity. Do not imagine that you alone of all the Jews will escape because you are in the king's house. If you remain silent at this time, Relief and deliverance will arise from another place. But you may have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. For such a time as this. Not for the comfortable years, not for the easy seasons. For this, the impossible, unwanted, terrifying this. Now go back. Go back before the palace, before the selection, before the banquet where a queen refused to appear. Go back to a girl who lost her parents, to a man named Mordecai who took her in when he didn't have to an exile that brought a people to a city they never chose, where they were close enough to a palace they would one day need access to. Go back to a sleepless night, a night recorded in the Book of Esther almost as a footnote. A king who could not sleep, who called for the royal records to be read to him, who happened to hear the account of a foiled assassination, a plot stopped years earlier by a man named Mordecai, a deed never rewarded. That sleepless night changed everything. The next morning, Haman would walk into the court. The king would ask him a question, and the answer Haman gave, thinking it was about himself, would honor the man he intended to destroy. None of this was coincidence. None of it. Every detail, the exile, the death of her parents, the adoption, the palace, the edict, the sleepless king, the forgotten record, was a thread. And together they made a net that caught an entire people's survival. The Book of Esther is one of only 2 books in the entire Bible that never mentions the name of God. That is not an oversight. It is the point. God is not visible in this story. He does not speak. He does not appear. No angel arrives. No burning bush. No voice from the sky. And yet, look at the architecture of what happened. Every placement was intentional. Every delay was strategic. Every detail the viewer might have dismissed as random was load-bearing. God was not absent from Esther's story because he wasn't named. He was the reason any of it held together. So what is God doing in your life? He is doing what he has always done. He is placing people before you need them. He is allowing chapters you cannot yet read. He is using loss and displacement and seasons of quiet to build something you will only understand when you need it most. The years that felt wasted may have been the years you were being made ready. The places you never chose to be may be exactly where you needed to be. The suffering that had no visible explanation may have been shaping something in you, a courage, a capacity, a kind of knowing that nothing comfortable could have built. Esther didn't know she was being prepared. She was just living, surviving, being faithful in the ordinary days. And then the moment came, the impossible, unwanted, necessary moment, and she was ready. Not because she had planned for it, because something had been planning for her. You are in a story larger than you can currently see. The chapter you are in right now may be the chapter that makes every future chapter possible. And the God who did not put his name in Esther's story, who worked invisibly, silently, through every ordinary and painful detail of her life, is the same God who is working in yours. You may not see it yet. Esther didn't either, but she was ready when the moment came, and so will you be.